Hello, welcome to the American Business Podcast. This is Kevin Deveci, your host. Thank you very much for being with us today. Today's number is 600,000. There are almost 600,000 manufacturing businesses in the US. Speaking of manufacturing, we have a great guest today and we'll discuss manufacturing, US manufacturing, and the state of manufacturing in the US overall. Let's welcome our guest and we'll start the conversation. Hello, John. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being with us. So, how is your week going so far?
Going well. Going well. Happy it's Friday. Let's just leave it at that.
Yes, yes,
It's been busy, but busy's good.
yes. Fridays are fun days, so no complaints, right?
Absolutely.
That's good. Well, thank you very much for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having
As
me.
a start, would you please introduce yourself and your organization to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thanks again for having me, Kevin. I know you and I co-chair the HIA Manufacturing Committee together, so
Yes,
we go back a ways. It's always good to have you, and I appreciate the opportunity. So,
of
for
course.
our audience today, my name is John Giordano. I'm a partner at Citrin Cooperman. We are a full-service accounting and advisory firm with several locations throughout the U.S. I work primarily out of our Melville office, and my roles and responsibilities within the firm are that I co-lead our firm's manufacturing and distribution practice. I am also an audit partner by trade, but like I said, my primary duties now are to run that practice.
How did you start your career?
How did I start my career? Now you're asking me to go back a little ways, Kevin. So I started in public accounting. I think the first year was 2004 is when I joined my first firm out of school. My route to get there was a little strange. Originally, my family background, most of my family was in law enforcement. So I was like the first to like kind of go to like a college and whatnot and go that route. And initially I pursued accounting because I had looked into like potentially joining the FBI at some point. And I heard from several people that, accounting is a good background for that because a lot of, despite what they glorify in TV and movies, a lot of it is in the background in terms of forensic studies and accounting and traceability. So I started taking those types of classes, I think as early as my senior year in high school. I think I took my first accounting class. And then I went to school for it at Marist College. Well, now Marist University. We're big time now. But as I started taking more and more classes, got introduced to the public side of accounting, particularly the auditing side. I decided to slightly pivot and stay on that track to join a firm as a audit staff at the time, and then I pursued. I worked through my first several years. I was with my first firm for about 10 years, and then I transitioned to Citrin in November of 2014. So, yeah.
Can you tell us about your work? What are the exciting and challenging parts of your work?
Um, the most exciting probably is just why I like public accounting. And I did do 12 months in private as well, working for a large company here on Long Island. But what I like about public accounting mostly is the ability to work with various different companies and different business owners. Um, I every day is kind of a new day. You don't know what's going to bubble up, what clients are going to need. So I found when I was in private practice, it was very, the month end closes were like kind of like the same routine and whatnot. So I did really miss the public aspect of working with businesses. Obviously, we have audit cycles every year that we work with companies on, but in between those is various different things that we help them with. Whether it be business valuation work, looking at succession planning. We have some clients that are looking to buy or sell, so we help them with quality of earnings studies, due diligence reports, um, and just business strategic planning. Not only with their operations and whatnot, but also helping them to tax plan. Like a lot of our businesses that we handle are core middle market. That's our specialty. We primarily work within middle market businesses, which are either family owned and backed, um, private equity owned. So we don't do any real public work in terms of an audit perspective. but working with those businesses not only on their current business, but how that transitions to their life. A lot of our clients, their business itself is probably their largest asset in terms of their generational wealth. So working with them to maximize that value and help them grow and really preserve wealth throughout for multiple generations. So helping them succeed helps me succeed.
I like us to talk about manufacturing a little bit. You and I, we are both close to manufacturing
Yeah.
industry in general, working uh, from different points of view. You focus on the accounting, public accounting part. I focus on the technology and business software part. From your point of view, how is the state of U.S. manufacturing in general? What type of challenges U.S. manufacturers are having, experiencing? I like to get your viewpoint from based on your experience and your observation in the market.
Yeah. Like I said, I co-lead the firm's practice with one of my partners in manufacturing distribution. Many firms, they kind of classify it a little bit differently, but for us, our manufacturing distribution practice could be anything from branding companies, manufacturers, contract manufacturers, distributors, logistics companies, retail chains, and various different subgroups that support that, whether it be food and beverage, beauty, cosmetics, housewares and home goods, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. So it kind of runs the gamut. But back to your question in terms of what the challenges are, I think in speaking with clients and other industry professionals, labor and workforce continues to be a struggle. Trying to find the talent out there to work in these various different manufacturing companies, whether it be here on Long Island or really throughout the state and really all throughout the country, is finding that skilled workforce to kind of bring manufacturing back here. There's been a lot of sublimation. I think we'll talk about a little later in terms of AI and whatnot, what companies are looking into. I think that's a big challenge, though, is really the workforce. Also, the constant regulatory change, if you want to call it. Every few years or so, I feel like our clients have met with new challenges throughout the supply chain. Going back to the 301 tariffs way back when, then they had COVID, which they had to navigate. Um, and now obviously it's a very volatile market in terms of tariffs. Understanding that we're working under I think it's a 90-day delay in terms of those becoming into effect, but still, working with clients on cash flow modeling and understanding how it could affect profitability not only for this year but years forward. I think for them to maintain competitiveness in the marketplace, it's challenging times. That's why we have to work with them on, like I said, like cash flow modeling, business consulting, and looking at their supply chain throughout and how they could remain competitive in a competitive marketplace.
Let's talk about AI a little bit. Just like you mentioned earlier, what do you think about AI? How businesses are employing so far? How it is going to be changing the business ecosystem in general? And do you think AI will replace jobs?
Yeah, AI is here. AI is here to stay for sure. We do here at the firm, we do a manufacturing and distribution pulse survey every year. Ours is set to be released in the next week or so. And on June 9th, I believe we'll be having a webinar to present those findings with an economist. And this year, a lot of our survey is centered around AI because it is very prevalent, especially in the manufacturing. Things change. Over time, things change. So the biggest conversations that we have with manufacturers is that, and especially going back to the comment on workforce, you know, this isn't manufacturing of the 1920s, where you have labor lines of people, one person puts the cap on, one person puts the label on. No, everything now is looked to be automated, streamlined, and there's a lot of engineering that goes into it, and strategic planning in terms of warehouse layouts and facility layouts. So the introduction to AI, I don't believe it will replace jobs. I think that's a common misconception that's out there. I think it'll help supplement the workforce that they cannot find, to help automate those positions, but more importantly, also elevate the workforce they have now to be a more value-added solution to the company, and as opposed to doing menial um, manual tasks. Have it be more thought-provoking tasks. Like there's engineering and strategic, as opposed to, like I said, just very labor-intensive. Like I think AI will help supplement the manufacturing industry rather than replace jobs.
Well, let's talk about your role models, if that's okay. Do you have
Sure.
any role models? Have you had any role models that you can share with us?
Um, yeah, obviously, for me, role models have always been my parents. My mom and dad. My mom and dad separated when I was young, but they still have remained very active in my life. My mom's a huge role model in the sense that, being a single mother is not easy, especially when you have two boys, two rambunctious, busy boys at that. And she's always been there to support me, and just seeing, what she goes through and all the sacrifices she's made throughout her life to make ours better is definitely there. And my dad is my dad. As a role model, like I said, throughout separation, still remaining active in our lives, still supportive of what we do. I still don't think he understands what I do as a professional. Like I said, he was straight blue collar all the way through. He's a police officer and also an electrician. He's a master electrician. So, I try to explain to him every so and so, and he'll still call me with the small tax questions and like that. I don't do that level of tax. But yeah, so for me, it's been those. I've had several mentors throughout my career here at the firm, one of which I followed over here to Citron Koopman from my old firm. So that's probably, what I would classify as quote unquote role models. It's probably the most canned answer you have. It's your parents. But for me, it really was. It really is and continues to be
Mhm.
today. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, you have decades of professional experience on your belt.
Yep.
Can you share some lessons learned that you have had during your career journey?
Lessons learned. Um, it's great. It's a good question. I think as a professional, um, throughout various stages of your career, I think you're constantly learning. I think you have to be, if you're not learning, you're not doing it right. I've always felt, because every mistake you make, you learn two or three things from. And throughout my career, every misstep I've had, I think has made me better as a professional. Um, so some key lessons is, make sure that when you're engaged in conversation and whatnot, that you're truly listening and not just hearing. Right. And I think you learn that over time when you have conversations, especially with business owners and whatnot. Um, it's not so much as important as to hear what they say, but to really listen to what they're saying. And I think that's why, a lot of people in professional services always want to try and find the solution, like find the solution right away in the moment, and go back to them in that moment. So say you have a meeting with a client or prospective client or whoever, it could be you and I talking, Kevin, right? And you say something and it automatically resonates with me, and I try and solve that problem right there in the room. Like I find over time, you should let all that stuff resonate, really listen, gather all the facts and circumstances, give yourself time to digest it, and then come back with really, really thought-provoking ideas rather than just try and solve things in the room. So I always think that that's a good lesson that I've learned over my career, and watching other people, like I mentioned mentors that I've had along the way, watching how they operate, right? And how they got there. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to pick their brains throughout my career, and we'll be in meetings and we'll walk out and I'll say, well, that was a really interesting strategy in how you went through that. Like, yeah, well, this is, and then they'll go on their background and how they learned and how they got there. So I think, for lessons to be learned, like I said, the key takeaway for me is try to listen, not just hear, and try to not solve things in the moment, especially when you're dealing with, um, decisions that could really affect the business and the strategic plan for the company. Like really listen and go back, regroup. And another reason why I joined Citra Koopman and why I like working here so much is because we have so many different resources within the firm too. So I like to play things off my partners, have open discussions, and see what they could bring to the table as well. And that's why I say listen, not hear, and bring those ideas back, reflect on it, and then come back with some real thought-provoking ideas.
Can you tell us some of your interests, your passions outside of work?
Passions outside of work, sure. Um, I enjoy boating and fishing. So I have a Wellcraft boat that I keep here locally in Merrick. Anytime I can get out on that, I really enjoy it. With the family, of course, and friends and colleagues to go fishing. But for me, just being on the water it's a game changer. I went out the other day. I took my dad. We went out last Friday to watch the air show, the practice of the air show, um, from the boat. So you literally could see the planes fly right overhead. It's just, for me, it's a different way to view the air show. I've done it as a kid going to the beach and watching it, but taking the boat out and sitting there and relaxing in the bay and watching them go overhead and seeing how, I mean, you can see the pilot sometimes, they come down so low, so it's crazy. But I
Sounds fun.
enjoy that. I just like it. I feel very unplugged when I'm on the boat. I feel very unplugged. From everything, even though devices are binging and going off routinely throughout the day. It's just a different mindset for me. I also like coaching my son and daughter's sports. I coached my son's baseball team till he was about 12. Then he joined in on the baseball program, and then I'm in the throes of coaching my daughter's softball team. So I really enjoy that. The experiences, getting to meet the different kids in the community, the parents, and for me, it's been my way of giving back without feel like I'm giving up anything. You know what I mean? I truly enjoy the time that I'm coaching. I play a little golf here or there as well. Yeah, just good quality family time.
Sounds great. Well, as you know, our actually full name of our podcast is the American Business Podcast for the Next Generation. So, um, as well as today's generation, we love to also share some career advice and educational content with the next generation. What will be your career advice for those who are thinking about getting into public accounting as well as manufacturing?
Yeah. Well, again, I know I'm in public accounting, and I work for Citron Cooperman. So I could definitely delve into my career advice for on the accounting side, but I could also speak to the manufacturing, because I am tied into that community. I know you referenced before, and I made mention of, we co-chair the manufacturing committee over at
Mhm.
the HIA, which is a great trade organization in terms of keeping
Yes.
people in manufacturing. And like I said, manufacturing has changed so drastically over the years, and I try to, anybody that I meet, that especially if school or that type of path isn't for anybody, there are great careers in manufacturing, like truly um, life-changing careers that people could pursue in manufacturing, where you could provide for not only yourself but a family, with good benefits throughout. And it's not the manufacturing of yesterday. Like I said, I know I made a joke referencing the 1920s or whatever. Assembly lines, dirty, filthy. Poor labor conditions. The manufacturers that I've had the pleasure of walking their floor, it's immaculate. I mean, the innovations that they have, and to actually see a product being made, throughout that, it's really it, interesting to watch. It's really interesting to watch, and like I said, they provide for a great career for those that higher education or anything might not be for them. So I encourage them, look into your local apprenticeship programs, look into internship programs. There's so many here out on Long Island. Um, I know the HA has this statistics. I'm sorry, about how many manufacturers there are. It's mind blowing when you think about it. You drive through the industrial park there, and you just look at how many businesses there are that most people probably don't even know are in our own backyard. So look into your apprenticeship programs. Look into opportunities to get plugged to manufacturing, because it could be an interesting route to take. I remember when I first started, how I got into primarily servicing manufacturing distribution clients was back at my old firm. It was a pretty diverse firm. We had real estate companies, we had service companies, manufacturers, distributors. And I remember one of the first opportunities I had to work on a client when I was, just the staff, was to do inventory observations at these various different locations, on site at companies. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean? To go to a facility and see, products being made, and how that process worked. You know, going on forklifts and whatever, with a safety harness and stuff like that. So that's what
Yes.
kind of steered me in my career to say, listen, I want to work with these types of companies as opposed to, not demeaning any other, um, service areas that we have, but that was just my draw. So I
Mhm.
really got plugged in there. And that's the area I chose to pursue in terms of my practice. And that's how it ties in. And those going into accounting, I would say it is a great, great um, level base for any professional looking to go into business. Yeah, having that CPA or having a background in accounting, it could elevate you so much throughout your career, whether you want to be in a public accounting or not. I think having an accounting background is always valuable, whether you're the CFO or even on the operations side, because nowadays, especially in the middle market businesses, you know, so many different groups or levels of management have to interact. And I always find it always ties back to finance, right? It always ties back to finance in some one way or another. So having that background in accounting is a wonderful thing. I think in continuing to grow that enrollment, in people that are going to college for these types of degrees. Like I said,
Mhm.
it's a diverse degree. You don't have to necessarily pursue public accounting to have to take those classes and achieve that CPA status. It's always good to have. We want more people in practice,
Mhm.
um, but I think it's a really good baseline for those looking that want to be in the business community to have that level of background.
Well, for those who likes to continue this conversation with you, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, we have it. Be reached via email. Uh, First initial last name, so jgiordano.com. No, that's wrong. jgiordano at citrocooperman.com. Get a hold of me, or I advise those that have. Um, yeah, this is great. I really appreciate this. This is fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, well, thank you so much for being with us. I know you have a very busy schedule and you carved up time to be with us. I truly appreciate your time and thank you for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you, Kevin. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. You as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
Well, to our audience and to our listeners, we had a great conversation with John Giordino from String Cooperman. He and I, we are co-chairs at HALI manufacturing committee, so we are really close to manufacturing. So I'm glad I had a chance to interview him on the podcast and learn about his insights and he was able to share with you. So that was a great opportunity. I hope you liked it too. Well, as I always say, we always bring informative and educational content, and today's was one of those episodes as well that we put together. Well, we are also happy that we are celebrating that we are having more than 30,000 YouTube subscribers on YouTube. So we truly appreciate it. I thank you for your support. If you haven't done so, please go to our YouTube channel, American Business Podcast ABP YouTube channel, and please subscribe. That means a lot to us. Watch some of our videos, some other interviews that we have. They're all educational and informative. You'll at least learn 1 or 2 points in each episode of ours. So very informative. So we truly appreciate your support. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Would you like to be a guest in our podcast? Do you have a feedback? Do you have a question or an idea? You can reach out to us. We keep an open mind. We have an email address for you to reach out to us, americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. Send us your feedback. If you have an idea that you like us to cover and have a guest speaker, please share with us. Also, if you like to be a guest or if you know someone who can be a guest, who likes to be a guest in our podcast, we welcome it as well. You can send us an email, americanbusinesspodcast at gmail.com. Also, if you are wondering what is coming on our podcast, we have a schedule that we publish on our website, americanpodcast.tv. So when you visit americanpodcast.tv, the first thing you'll see is right after my picture, you'll see the schedule that we actually post, and you can see who is coming and what we will be talking about. Also, one final note: we have a new sponsor, IP Vanish VPN. I put the link on the screen. Um, I use also IP Vanish VPN as well. That's reliable, solid. So if you are looking for a VPN, that's a pretty good choice. You can visit the link that I put on the screen, and you can also subscribe to that VPN option as well that I like to share with you. If your company, if you like to sponsor, if you like to be advertising on our podcast, you can also send us an email, americanbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. We welcome any sponsorship opportunities. We work with you, and we'll make sure to create value for everybody, for you, for our audience, as well as your organization. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm looking forward to having you at our coming American Business Podcast episodes. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend.